one of our friends asked us after the game, do you think Burrow wins a Super Bowl? And I said, if I had to bet money on it, I'd probably bet no. At least within the next 5 years, let's say within the next 5 years, I think it's unlikely.
Let's say with the Bengals.
Sure. Within the next 5 years, I think it's unlikely that Joe Burrow and the Bengals get to the Super Bowl. We talked about it a couple weeks ago on this show. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? The Steelers are still there. The Derek Carr is there in Vegas. This is a really good conference at the moment in the AFC. And to just assume that the Bengals are going to get back to the Super Bowl, like a lot of people have been throughout the week. Ziggy, you said before the show, we kept hearing people talking about the Bengals playing with house money. That if they lose, it's okay because they'll have the opportunity to get back. They're so young, they'll be here again. The Rams, though, with Stafford and Donald, he might retire. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, they need to win. That's not the case. Zach Taylor's post-game interview, he said, we know how rare it is to get here. We understand that you don't have the opportunity to play for a Super Bowl very often. And the prime example of that, as we were talking about off air, is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. Is that not incredible to think about? With all the success the Packers have had over the past 10 years, Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. So to assume that the Bengals can just get back there is foolish because it's really hard. It's really hard to even get to the AFC Championship game.
And many people have forgotten this because the Bengals had a lot of success this year with a couple free agents or whatever. But Mike Brown is arguably the cheapest owner in the entire NFL. He has consistently refused to do trades, consistently refused to pay money for free agents, and by and large sees his goal not to win a Super Bowl, but to bring in the most profit every single year, which means not paying players, which means leaving a lot of salary cap on the table. And this is why, like, a lot of people, rightly so, I think, accused Carson Palmer of some sour grapes this week as he talked about how Joe Burrow would never win anything with the Bengals and he was going to find out how the ownership refused to support their quarterbacks. But I actually do think we're going to start seeing some of that. It's not clear to me that the Bengals, like just last offseason, if the Bengals wanted to, there were some excellent offensive linemen available. Bengals could have taken them, chose not to, in free agency. Are things really going to be different this year now that they have some success? I don't know. I'm not sure. And if they're not, we could very easily see Joe Burrow wasting away his career in Cincinnati, just like everyone thought he might.
Bengals fans are probably listening to this saying, oh my gosh, like we just lost the Super Bowl. Like, come on, give us a break here.
No, I think Bengals fans are listening to this and thinking, Ziggy's right. This is exactly what we thought for the past, 50 years. Well-run teams of competent ownership, don't go 30 years without winning a playoff game. I'm not talking 30 years without the Super Bowl. I'm not talking 30 years without a conference championship. I'm talking 30 years without winning a playoff game. And we saw under, who was the Bengals coach? What's his name?
Marvin Lewis?
The guy. Yeah, under Marvin Lewis. We saw under Marvin Lewis the Bengals consistently making the playoffs and not having the resources to win games afterwards. Not that Marvin Lewis was some great coach, right? But he got them that far, and that wasn't a sign to the Browns they needed to double up and spend more money. I don't know. I think Bengals fans are going to agree.
To you, did this feel like lightning in a bottle or the start of a very sound, very good football team for the next 5-10 years?
Oh, I think it is a very solid football team for the next. So
it felt to you more like the start of something rather than.
I think the Super Bowl run. Here's what a solid team is going to be in this AFC, where you've got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and whoever else ends up coming through. Right, there's going to be some good quarterbacks entering every draft because the bottom teams are really at the bottom. Here's what you're going to see. I think a good year is going to be maybe making the conference championship game.
Or divisional. Or even the division.
Yeah, just making it to the divisional round out of the wild card game is a good year for a lot of these teams. So when we're talking about the Bengals going back to the Super Bowl, they needed things like elite performance from Eli frickin' Apple. Is there any reason to believe that this Bengals defense that improved so dramatically this year with role players who have sucked every year before this pretty much, except the illustrious Jesse Bates III? Do we really think that that's going to continue being good? Do we really think after his first 2 seasons, Zach Taylor's actually an excellent coach? Do we really think that the Bengals are going to be able to get an offensive line after struggling to put forth a good one for decades?
Look at the playoff
I'm just
run,
not
too.
sure.
Look at the playoff run. Vegas fans will tell you they were upset with the way that game ended. You were upset with the way that game ended for Vegas. Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill throws an interception on their potential game-winning drive. That sets up the McPherson game winner. Kansas City, obviously we know about the comeback. It really had, to me, a lightning in a bottle-esque feeling on the playoff run. I do want to say that I think the Bengals will be a good team next year, but I probably cap them. I don't think they get past the divisional round next year.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
That's a good season, and that's a good season.
Evan McPherson was 12 for 12 on field goals, hitting 4 in each of their first 3 games. A, you can't ever count on a kicker to be that accurate.
Oh, well, trust me, I know. Trust me, I know.
And B, usually you can't win playoff games with your kicker needing to hit 3 game winners.
I do feel bad for them, though. I do feel bad.
No, it's crushing, and it's even more crushing because this is probably the last time that they're going to have an opportunity quite like this, where at every corner, they didn't have to go through the Bills and the Chiefs because the Titans just basically lucked into the 1 seed. Right? They only had to go through one elite team because coincidentally the 1 seed was probably the weakest team.
And they didn't have to go through the Chargers because Vegas beat them last week of the season.
Exactly, and what should have been a tie probably. So it's like things really lined up for them.
And Ziggy, and when you're talking about things lining up for them, they had the lead in the 3rd quarter against a Rams team without Higbee and Odell Beckham Jr.
And with Cam Akers coming fresh off an Achilles tear.
In the middle of the third quarter, I looked over at the people I was watching the game with, and I said, "It feels like the Rams have no chance when they have the ball. Like they can't do anything." It for a moment, and maybe it was just a moment too good to be true for those in Cincinnati. It looked like they were going to win the Super Bowl, but maybe that would have been too much for people because I don't know what I would have done if the Bengals won the Super Bowl.
I know what I would have done. I would have had a big steak dinner.
Well, that is football, at least for us. Misery.
FanDuel always wins. That's my take.
FanDuel always wins, except for the fund.